Well, Ruben, on balance, more happy than unhappy?
Depends. If you see the game, I think we had some chances to win the game. We tried to use the pace in transitions, defending a little more in the low block, but we had our chances, and we had some moments with the ball, and we pushed City to their half. I think we were near the goal, but if you look at the game, you can accept the draw.
Yeah. So they had more of the ball, but did you feel like you had a bit more of the threat?
Yes, because you have more space, and that is something that is normal when you are prepared to do that, and you expect to do that. We were closer, I think, to the goal. They have more possession. That is normal.
Is it still that last bit for you though? In the last third, final pass, final cross. I heard you talk about it in midweek. Same again today. Sometimes
Ederson did quite well because we had some moments in the pass was in the they used a good pass in the overlap sometimes, things that we didn't do against Nottingham, and then Ederson was there, but if you look at the team, we have so much to improve in every aspect of the game, so that is one more.
Okay, give us some of those things. Where do you need to improve? We've not got long enough.
Everywhere. I think everywhere. We need to improve in every aspect of the game, build up, transition, decision clearly in the final third. So we have to improve in every aspect.
How can you improve that last bit in the final third? Is it about developing individuals, or can it only be done in the transfer market?
No, we have. Every player can improve, and they are here because they show something in other clubs. So they have the quality. We have to spend more time there. We are still a team. Sometimes it's more danger in transition. We have to spend more time near the final third to have more opportunities.
Do you still feel, despite what you're saying about you can improve literally everywhere, do you see progress?
Well, I can see it. I can see the connections are a little bit better. You can feel that the players are more comfortable to the positions. We can find players between the lines. All that things, we are more calm with the ball. So we are better. But like I said in the beginning, we have a lot to improve.
Yeah, and you talked in the week about being in a rush to get to where City are right now and even beyond that. So what's it going to take, maybe over the summer, to make that leap so you're contending at least somewhere near at the top?
Again, I know I'm not naive, I'm not crazy. I can see the moment that we are. I can look at to the opponents and I understand there's a big gap. But I'm as a leader, I cannot say that we are going to take a lot of time. Even if you want to bring someone, if you want to push our players, you have to show some hurry. You have to feel that urgency to do something better because you don't have a lot of time in the club like ours. So we are in the rush. That is clear.
What did you make of it today as a game for a derby in this country? It's quite a cagey game, I guess, 0-0. Why was it that way?
I think if you look at the moment of both teams, not fighting for the title, that changed completely the game. You can make a funny game, but the feeling of winning, you cannot lose 1 point. You have to win every game at home. That feeling is not here, and it's hard for me. I'm the coach. It's hard to say that. So we need to fight for big things. If we are fighting for big things, the feeling it will be completely different. In that urgency, you will feel it more in the game. Like you don't feel it today because both teams are sometimes they have a lot of doubts in some moments to jump in the pressure, etc., etc. So I think you need to be fighting for the big things.
Thank you. Well, Bruno, well played. A point against your City rivals. Happy with the result? Happy with the performance? What did you make of it?
No, happy with the performance. Obviously, the result not. We want to win games and we need points in the league. We are aware of that. Obviously, we played against a very good side. I think the game was there for both teams. I think we were a little bit more dangerous. We create more opportunities. We just need to be a little bit more, have more the instinct, the killer instinct, to get the goals. In the first half, I think we had too many chances and we have to get one. When you play against City, they want to have the ball. They will overload places and sides, and you have to be patient with your pressure. But I think we did that very well today. We are very well organised. But as I said, the killer instinct today was missing a little bit. But we created a lot of chances. That's a good point.
So in terms of the manager's structure, defensive plan, do you feel like you're really up to speed with that now? Whenever you're playing the top sides, you're making it really difficult for them.
But I wasn't worried about the defensive organisation or the speed of the team going backwards, pressing, because when we play big teams, we have showed that.
Yeah.
The problem is when you go to some games where we think probably that we are the better team, and then we don't do it in the same pace as we should do. But we growing in that. We understanding that without suffering, that's what the manager says to us a lot. My responsibility is doing the best I can for the team, because that's the responsibility everyone has. Obviously, we know that I will get more attention than some others probably, because being the captain and being here for so many years, and I need to be at the level of this club every time I step off the dressing room to go to the pitch. Obviously, sometimes you don't, but the effort is always there. That won't miss from my side. It could miss technically, tactically a little bit sometimes, but effort-wise we'll never miss, and that has to be my main thing to show to the other ones.
The manager was talking in the week about being in a rush to get Manchester United back to, where I guess everyone feels they belong, contending right at the top of this league. Seeing what you've seen over the past few months, how far off are you?
No, as I said, it's not these games that will define that. It's the other ones. That, as I said, whenever we play big teams, we know the pressure is all there, so much attention, everything, and everyone is so sharp in everything we do. We just have to make that click to, if we want to be a big club, like City is being, Liverpool is being, we need to do that consistently, and that's what.
And how far off is that?
We have to see it. If we carry on doing what we did today, with scoring goals, we'll be close. But if after today we just relax and think that this is enough, we go back again. So that's the main focus now, is to do this consistently.
What type of game was it today, did you think? What was it like to play in it? Maybe, I don't know, it seems to lack some of the blood and thunder of derbies of years gone by, did you think?
No, I think there was a lot of falls in there, was a lot of moments, but it can't be any more like it was in the past. It's a lot of things now that have changed with VAR, everything. I've played in derbies also without VAR, and I know how it is. But with VAR nowadays you can't do that. Before they had only 3 referees, now they have 4.
On Kevin De Bruyne, because that was your last time facing him in a Manchester derby. I thought I saw you have a little moment with him at full time, but I know he's been on the wrong side of Manchester from your perspective, but how tough an opponent has he been? How good a player is he?
Oh, he made the Premier League better. He made if City is where he is, and Man United hasn't won many trophies in this period, is also because of Kevin De Bruyne, and he deserves all the credit. He's done fantastic. 10 years in the Premier League is a lot. They have decided to part ways. I don't know from which side, but Kevin keeps being world class, and it was a pleasure to watch him so close. It was a pleasure to play against him, and he's gonna stay in the history of the Premier League, not only of Man City.
Yeah, you're right. He has been a brilliant player, but today you were the player of the match.
Thank you very
well
much.
played, Bruno.
Thank you.
If that goes on for much longer. So what about Bruno Fernandes's assessment of what we saw then, Roy?
Yes, pretty honest out of him. Yeah, of course. Again, we saw the lack of quality, the lack of goals, which is really holding the club back the last couple of years. I still think that, I'm not sure what the mindset is in this group of players in terms of trying to win football matches. You need Gary Shundler pretty well at the end of the game. I think they need to show a bit more courage. They all show images of ex-players, people like Canton in the crowd, and we go back to the managers I played with, other teams. And I know you might say this team's not as good as that, obviously not. But there's a responsibility, I still think, when you're playing for Manchester United, to try and win football matches. And I still don't think they're doing enough to win matches. You look even over the last 3 or 4 games, they beat Leicester, but they drew home here to Arsenal. They lose at Forest. They draw here, and it's almost, oh well, I still think they need to do a bit more, gamble a bit more.
But do you think
not necessarily silly getting everyone in the box, but when you get moments, to take more risks. And there is that element when you play for Man United. There is that when you're watching a player play for Man United, that they are prepared to take risks, particularly the attacking players. And I don't see enough of that. So what we're seeing today is, as much as we're all disappointed with it, what were we expecting really? Because they don't score enough goals, and they've not done for the last year or two. And that's not going to change.
But is that not a symbol of where this Manchester United team are right now? They don't feel good enough to take Arsenal on, to take Manchester City on at their own game.
I get that, but there still has to be a change of mindset. You have to start somewhere. Yeah, you have to start somewhere. This is a derby game where Man City have come, who aren't in great form themselves. They're a good team, and obviously you've got quality players. So it's a home game. You're thinking, listen, City aren't that great. You've had one opportunities, and they've had chances, and they're making the wrong decision. People not getting in the box, people not hitting the target, people not taking opportunities. And again, it's the mindset of find a way to win. Find a way to get a set piece, get a last minute. City defended quite well. I think some good crosses going into the box, and their two centre-halves in particular, I think, done quite well. But I still look at this Man United team, and I'm going back over the last year or two, not just today, and going, where is that mindset and that gamble from somebody to say, even 2 or 3 pop, I'm going to get in, I'm going to get crossed in air post, I'm going to produce them. And we're waiting for Bruno to do it all the time. He does it a lot of time, but it needs other players to step up to the plate. And when you sign for Man United, there is that responsibility, because they all sit there and they'll sit down and they'll discuss their contract for months and get a deal done. But when you do that and you come to Man United, you do look and go, no, lads, there is a responsibility of playing for Man United. And not enough players, particularly attacking players.
Have you seen an improvement though, Roy?
Sorry?
Have you seen an improvement with it? I think...
I can't see it, but I'm happy to be...
I just mean from the system. Obviously, we're playing 3-4-3. It's new to everyone. The manager's persistent on he wants to play that. It takes players a longer time to adapt to that. I try and see all that.
There's new players at the club, a new manager, and he came in at a difficult spell. I know that, and there's been trouble over the last few years. But you're still looking for some sort of change in the... Again, more so the mindset. Again, we talk about tactics and systems. I'm on about balls going into the box. And some good balls going into the box. You're waiting for somebody to...
Yeah, but the system is...
Do you think there's more structure, Mike?
I think it's more structure.
The system, you've obviously got 11 players on the pitch. In that system, 7 are defensive-minded players.
Correct.
So you've got your 4 across the middle, your 3 in your back 3, and then you've obviously got your keeper if you include that. You've got 3 forward players who are natural goal scorers, natural creators. You know, your Bruno Fernandes, your Mason Mounts, your Xerxes, your Højlund. There's not enough output coming from them, but also your reserves. So your best chances often fall to wing-backs. Look at Dorgu today. You can't expect Dorgu to score. It reminds me of Tottenham a few seasons ago when they play with wing-backs and their best chances fall to wing-backs and they're not natural goal scorers. And I don't care.
And it's where they're starting from as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
They're having to run 40, 50 yards just to get a chance.
That's exactly it. And it almost becomes, we break the lines. It's desperate. We have to score. We have to score, otherwise, it's a catastrophe.
So is it a matter of just getting better quality personnel into those positions?
Absolutely.
Which is going to take time, isn't it?
Yeah, but there still could be more of a goal threat. But yeah, you're always going to want your attacking players, and the couple of strikers they have at the club aren't good enough for Man United. I get that, but there's other players on the team. There's wide players. Defenders can score goals. I'm talking about set pieces. The goal, for example, the goal they gave away against Forest the other night, it's a corner. And then you have an opposition player running 70, 80 yards. Yeah, it's a great run, and you could say a great goal. But someone's got to tackle him. That's the mindset I'm talking about. Have a desire to dig deep and find a way to get a result.
How do you get that mindset, though? You're talking about it. You keep going back to your teams, and your team had that mindset. Maybe this
it's got to come from the manager, the staff. They've got to try and get it into the certain leaders they have in the dressing room. I'm not saying they can all be like that, but you have to have a few lads. You go, they've got experienced players out there. They're not Maguire, Casemiro, Fernandes. Did they get a grip of these players? That's what I talk about. Now, we watch them at weekends, but I go back to them. I'm always intrigued what happens day to day at the training ground. Who's drilling the... Garnacho, for example. We played around many years ago. Ollie Solskjaer ran 70, 80 yards to bring somebody down. He got sent off. Sacrifices for the team. And a sacrifice for attacking players might be making a run, might be making a good ball out of a bad ball. But I just see the United team today, and yeah, we're frustrated because we want to see action and goals. But it's just a case, and they're all applauding and they're all getting interviewed after. Go, yeah, but as if a draw's not too bad. A draw gets you nowhere fast. And same a couple of weeks ago with Arsenal home here. I know they've beaten Leicester and the Real Sociedad. Again, I'm talking about just the last few games where you look and going, but this is not enough. This is not good enough. And I'm not, so we're. But
that's the level that they are now.
So forget the teams that I played for. But I'm on about United. Forget the top 3 or 4 teams. I'm on about competing with Brentford and Crystal Palace and Fulham and Wolves and all these teams. Are you telling me Man United should be behind them?
Do you think
even this
Manchester
group of players?
Do you think this group of players are better than those teams that you've mentioned?
I think so. I still think the majority of these players should be doing better than the teams I've just mentioned. Do you think Man United should be scoring more goals than Wolves? If we want to start somewhere, you've got to have a starting point. You go, right, in terms of scoring goals, Man United over the history, you're talking about the Cantonese, the using Man United, it's about entertaining fans today. The fans today.
I agree with you. I agree with everything that you're saying, but I think the system makes it harder for them to do.
But do you think United? Do you think this group of players? All right. Do you think this group of players should be 13th or 14th in the league?
I agree with you. I think they should be better. But when a manager is persistent on playing
But I'm not talking about top 4, top 5 here. I'm talking about can they make progress to get to 8th, 9th, and this group of players have to be doing better than that. And to do that, they have to score more goals, obviously, and take more gambles. And there's a great word, I think Gary meant. You have to have courage. You have to play courage for playing for Man United when it's 70 or 80,000 looking at you and you're up against it. It's easy when you're winning every week, of course that. But it's wanting the ball when you don't want it.
But you're also talking about attacking players, Roy. Hoyland's still not proven in the Premier League. Xerxes is still new to it.
Right. Yeah.
So is he going to be scoring goals in any other team?
So's Amorim as well. And you go to those other teams, Brentford, Crystal Palace. They've had time with their managers. Thomas Frank, how long has he been at Brentford? And he's built this system, and it makes them bulletproof at times. You know, they know what they're doing. Amorim's not had that time, and that's not a cop-out saying, oh, he needs more time to get this team up to that level.
But sometimes a manager comes into a club and there's a reaction straight away.
Well, you could mention Ollie Glasner last year, who was playing that in a very similar system of formation that Manchester United are. Was his impact not quite immediate at Crystal Palace?
It wasn't immediate, was it? Well, he got a bit of a bounce, but it wasn't immediate, and we're seeing the benefits from it this season. That, you know, they're performing at a pretty high level. Yeah, the league table, I mean, what do Crystal Palace expect in terms of league position? I'm not sure, but you can see what they're trying to do. And Manchester United, I saw signs today, you know, clutching even, like saw signs of the system working, but Roy's spot on that. They just completely don't create anything, and it's because there's no sort of camaraderie in the final third, and the attacking pieces just don't seem to work yet.
Do you think the system is a problem then, Roy? Would you be throwing it out at this stage?
But the manager's going to stick with it, isn't it? The manager's...
But is that the right thing to do?
No, well, obviously that's the gamble he's taking, because ultimately if he's not getting football results, and we're talking about next year when he will no doubt get an opportunity to bring players in the summer, and then we'll have maybe be able to judge it better.
But the problem with that, Roy, is they're going to be signing players specifically for the system that he wants to play.
And that's obviously that's the way he's going. That's his beliefs and his philosophy, and that's fine. But I like to play for teams of philosophies is we like to win football matches. I like that philosophy. I don't ever remember sitting in a dressing room with the players I played with and some decent players at other clubs, including Forest and brilliant managers, where we discussed our philosophy or what way we're going to... We'd find different ways to play. Man United were trying to play out today and got caught a few times, and I'm like, I don't like that. There's times for it. But if that's the way... If they're going to go down that road and they're picking up results and you're going, do you know what, they're scoring plenty of... But I don't see it. My eyes don't lie to me. No, I'd like to be proven wrong, and Man United are in the top 5 or 6 next year. You're going, I'll take it all back. But I don't see it. I've watched the game. I've seen a few live games lately. I watched Forest the other night. I was kicking my cups of tea over. I was watching it. All I hear was they're neat and tidy. But they were never going to score. Never going to score. No goals again today. Part of playing for Man, you're going to go back to responsibility for when you're playing for a big club and you're getting all this, the big contracts and all the reward. Is a responsibility to win football matches. Ultimately, is that what we're here for? To win. We're praising Liverpool. We're praising Liverpool for the last few months. Why? Because they're clinical and they're winning football matches. So when we sit here and watch Man United, we're going, I'm getting fed up with this. But have you seen signs of what? Signs of getting the odd draw? Getting the odd...
Roy, that's where they are at this moment of time. No, so that's what you have to judge them on.
That's right. But I don't think it's good enough.
But you've said it right. The players at this moment, I believe, in the system doesn't work. I think it was on Amorim at the start. He said he's going to play this system. He's going to persist with this system.
And good luck to him.
And it's at the detriment to the players and him at this moment. Long term, I think when he wants to play the system, I think it will come good. But he needs a window. He needs to get the players that he wants. But right now, he's got players playing in positions what are unfamiliar to them. So we're asking him to do things that they can't really do. Dorgu's their best player today.
Said before the game, I was going to talk about tactics.
Does he also not need to build... I mean, it's not momentum because they're not winning games, but they've got a huge game hit on Thursday night against Lyon. Do they need to build some confidence in terms of not losing games, being solid? He said after the Arsenal game...
How long do you keep saying that, not losing...
But they're playing Arsenal and Manchester City in back-to-back home games, and he said after the Arsenal game, this is not the way we want to play long term, but we have to take small steps.
So we should expect Man United to beat Man City today.
They don't have a divine right to win Man United, do they? They're playing at the level in which they are right now, and you throw the system on that. That's the results of what you're getting.
Yeah.
I believe if they was playing 4-3-3, which the players are familiar with, they'd be doing a lot better than they are now. I think it's the system at the moment is hindering a little bit, but long term with Amorim, I think it will work well for them. But we need time.
You're talking about expectation. You're playing Arsenal, Man City. They beat Man City at Man City.
Yeah, but
they lost heavily to them last season.
But they beat Arsenal in the cup down there, so they have shown moments where they can do it. But it's just doing it week in, week out. And when they're walking off the pitch, every time we come to Old Trafford, they're getting applauded off the pitch for getting draws. So that's where the mindset and where the standards of the club is. It's a problem off the field at the moment. We see some fans protesting. And it's a huge problem on the field. So this team can produce. They've shown it in moments over the course of the season. They went to Liverpool. Did they get a draw? And they nearly won it at the end. They've beaten Man City early in the season. They've beaten Arsenal in the Cup in a tough game and they had a man sent off. So they have proved they can kind of get over the line in certain games. But it's just the lack of goals. And I suppose if you do win matches, I get that. You get a bit of confidence and belief in the dressing room, particularly for the new players. And if the strikers aren't scoring goals, then it's a huge problem. Steve Bruce said many times before, you're only as good as your strikers. And at this moment in time, that's where it's a big struggle. If you can't score goals, you're constantly under pressure.
Were City any better? To be discussed.
Much to discuss on both captains today. Some interesting thoughts there from Bruno Fernandes, and he's stating the obvious, really, in the fact that they need to be more clinical, which is right back to the theme of the start of the show when we were talking about the centre forwards and the fact that Manchester United have still only scored 37 goals and only 5 teams in the Premier League have scored fewer than them.
Yeah, it's a big issue, Steve. As you said, we said that before. I think it's quite right saying the defensive organisation looks all right. But is that because they don't look like a threat at the other end of the pitch? You know what I mean? That balance has to be right. The balance isn't quite there. They definitely need more ammunition in the forward area of the pitch. That goes without saying. I think Garnacho is the only threat, but again, we're talking about the threat where he scored once in 25, 26 games. It's not enough. He needs to be more consistent. With his chance, he should have scored again today for me. The diving header 5 yards out, it should be a goal. And that reinforcements look, we know reinforcements need possibly all over the pitch, but especially in forward areas, they're just toothless in attack.
I'm going to give you an incredible stat now, because it's not just reinforcements, it's the way they're playing that's getting much discussion. Since Ruben Amorim arrived, only Leicester City have scored in fewer games than Manchester United. So actually the goal scoring record's gone backwards since this manager came in, with the shape and with the players that he has available to him.
Yeah, and from what we've seen so far, it's not going to change that. He's not going to change the shape, whether it's winning games or losing games. It doesn't seem to matter to him now. He thinks he's got... Well, I think deep down he knows he probably hasn't got the players that he needs for the shape he wants to play, but he's just getting on with it anyway, cracking on with it, hoping eventually it does come, and then when he brings his new players in, that they will be off and running with it. I think defensively, it feels like it's working, because you look at the record, you look at today, they didn't really concede any chances, I think, over the last 5-6 but they're not playing against great opposition in the last 5 or 6 weeks, so you have to take that into account as well. And they have looked defensively solid, they do, but to win games of football, you've got to score goals. This is just the way of this club. This club is about entertaining people, having brilliant forward players. Forward players are just, they're not at the level that is required to have a team who can compete constantly.
Potential manager, he'd have put himself forward with a forward-thinking, attacking system, because he was so keen, so implement. Like he would have interviewed on his sword, this is my system and this is what brings success. So what on earth are they doing in training? Because defensively, like you say, defensively they do look fairly solid. But in the Premier League, to be successful, you can't just rely on being like, you know, Forest, Leicester, those sorts of teams, they don't come around very often. There's not much sustainability to what they're trying to do. You can have one good season, but what could he possibly be doing in training to balance that up? Because they can't just think as soon as they start attacking, they're vulnerable. It doesn't work. A good team doesn't, the moment they attack.
Yeah. Well, I think his system can be an attacking system. I think he's shown it at Sporting Lisbon. Of course. They scored plenty of goals. I just don't... He hasn't got the ammunition to go out and actually score goals. He just hasn't got it. He's got Bruno Fernandes who's capable. Zirkzee, Højlund, not goal scorers. Garnacho doesn't look like a goal scorer enough. You can go recruitment right back down the years, can't you, for the last 2 or 3 years and think, how on God's earth have Manchester United end up with one centre forward who doesn't score goals? It's incredible.
It would be interesting to see if you gave Ruben Amorim and said, what is your ideal 11 for the system that you want to play? I wouldn't be able to name the players that he'd want. It doesn't really just quite make sense. He did well at Sporting, and I'm sure he's a top coach when he's on fire and when the team are flowing. But it's just really, really hard to work out what his team looks like when it's successful, being both solid at the back, which every title-winning team needs to be, but also effective going forward. That's the one thing that I'm just struggling to see.
We have to cut him some slack here in the sense that the way he
recruited terrible players, they should be able to coach them into some sort of system, like working with them every single day. Like, that's what you forget about a professional footballer.
Joe, when you said there wasn't much competition, I don't remember much competition for some of the players they did sign. I don't remember being a fight over Joshua Zirkzee all around Europe. Ugarte, Højlund, possibly. I think Højlund might have been one who people could have wanted because he was so young. Anthony, who I can't think of many teams. They're not fighting for players who other teams want, are they? And that's possibly an issue as well.
Up at Man United for huge money. That's wild.
Bad recruitment.
Yeah,
terrible recruitment.
And in terms of what you're saying, that the players don't fit the system and he hasn't got his own players, we're not expecting a huge turnover of players this summer to try and make an instant difference at the start of next season. So is that a concern as well?
It has to be a major concern. Where's the money coming from? Obviously, we've seen the interview from Sir Jim, and it didn't make good reading. You don't think he's got a war chest to go to war with. He just doesn't feel like that. I get the impression, and I could be wrong here, but I think they might sell the 2 young players. I think they might sell Garnacho and Mainu just obviously for PSR issues as well. What can you do? Sell them for 60 million, then you can spend 180 million. I think
would that be sickening? Especially when you look at someone like what Scott McTominay's doing in Italy at the moment with Napoli.
The Mainu one would hurt you. Did you know what? They both hurt. When you're looking for, okay, Garnacho's come later, but Mainu, you're talking about a boy who's come to Man United at 6, 7 years of age. Now he's been coached. He's been right through the system up to 18, 19 years of age. Come through to the first team, had a brilliant year last year. Not so good this year. It makes the academy system fail. Really, it makes it look bad that they've had to sell that player, and that's just because of mismanagement that's happened through the years. Now, I'm open wrong. I hope they don't have to do that. But the noises you hear, it has to be a big concern. And for Manchester to be in this position, you look back at Manchester over the last 20 years, you think, get any player in the world, any player they want. And we had a brief conversation before. If clubs, Man United might be in the league now of competing with the likes of Newcastle, the likes of Aston Villa in the transfer market, possibly not your Liverpools and your Manchester Cities and your Chelseas, because, and if you're looking as a player, you think, right, Manchester United want me, Manchester City want me, and it hurts me to say that, but where are you going? With the trouble that's at Manchester United, at that club at the minute, it could be a mess for the next 5, 10 years. Now look, they might have the right man in place, and they're saying, Amorim, is he the right man? He's got a big job. This is a big job for anyone. Whoever the manager is, whether it's Pep Guardiola could be there. This is a major job.
Some of Europe's biggest names in there, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. We've tried everything. Now it's time to just stick with the system as he's doing. United fans are brilliant as well. They'll support whatever manager. Even Ten Hag in the later days, everyone knew it wasn't great, but they support him, and eventually you've just got to stick with it, I think. Because you try your Van Gaal, you try the Mourinho's, the very best around, and it's not worked. So we've got a really young, bright manager. We know that. He's great record in Sporting. I know Sporting in the Portuguese league is not Manchester United, and it's not the Premier League. But we've got to stick with him. We've got to stick with somebody. Whoever it is, I don't care who it is, you've got to stick with him now and trust him for the next 3 or 4 years now, there's going to be horrible times through that, definitely. And he's had not a great start, has he? To be fair to him, but I think he's getting parts of it right.
Like Arsenal have done with Arteta?
Yes, very much so. What's Arteta been there 5 or 6 years? They won the FA Cup early on, which was great for him. Hopefully Manchester United go and win this Europa League for him early on, and then that gives him that time to build, because Arteta, when he first went, Arsenal were a poor team. And he's rebuilt. I rebuilt it with Edu. Don't get me wrong, that's another worry. You think, see, he possibly came over it under false pretences at Amorim. You think, right, the first time Manchester United have got a director of football in Dan Ashworth, within 2 or 3 months he's gone. All of a sudden, he's back on his own again. They haven't employed anybody else. And he's a young manager coming over to a different league. Another thing, he's got a really young set of staff with him as well, which sometimes I think it might be a good idea to try and bring somebody experienced, especially a bit of experience of the
club and the league.
The club and the league especially. And there's plenty of people out there, he obviously doesn't want to do that, but he needs help around the training ground every day. I don't know if Jason Wilcox is now that man. But you can't just leave him to it. There were so many times that Ten Hag, he was like the one man representing the club. He was almost sent out to the Lions all the time to defend everything. I don't want this man to have to do it. He's young. He's got a big enough job in his hands. He needs that help in the background. And I think a director of football would be some really experienced. Look what Arsenal have just done with the lad from Atletico Madrid, Berta. You know, somebody like that, somebody with real experience and presence in behind him, just to help him along day to day with the job.
And Emery's got Monchi as well, hasn't he? At Villa,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you talk about trusting Ruben Amorim. Let's hear from him now.